Hello and thanks for joining the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. 72 days from now, Nigerians will go to the poll to elect a new set of leaders to pilot the country's affairs for another 4 years. How set are you for the 2019 elections? Today on the program, protesting National Assembly staff call off 3-day warning strike a day after preventing lawmakers from sitting. Buhari reiterates commitment to release of the Chibok girls as Aisha Buhari urges Nigerian women to vote for him. And later on the show, court ordered destruction of 14 containers of tramadol. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Tony Uwaje. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for always being there. Now, it's certainly not the best of time and season for workers across board in Nigeria. Those who are not on strike are on standby to go on strike, all bordering on agitation for enhanced salary and better welfare. So, are workers becoming endangered species, or is the country tilting towards danger of onslaught by them? Now, on Tuesday, the country witnessed shutting down of the National Assembly complex in Abuja by staff over non-payment of their consolidated salary structure. However, the protesting staff, under the aegis of Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria, have suspended their 3-day warning strike. They took the decision at the end of a stormy emergency congress at the National Assembly complex after securing assurance of actions on their demands. But let us play what played out yesterday for you, so that to refresh your memory as we come back to discuss.
First legislative day of the week, but these parliamentary staff are not in the mood to carry files this Tuesday. They are at the lobby of the National Assembly, housing both chambers, to prevent legislators from conducting the day's business. The lawmakers are sent back as the protesting workers intensify their protests, displaying placards. The workers block both entrances to the two chambers, demanding the lawmakers' intervention. Among their demands is the payment of arrears of CONLES, which became effective since 2010. They also want the promotion letters of deserving staff released, regular staff training, and other welfare-related issues.
It's an issue that has been lingering on for a long time, and we've written to them severally, we've met with them formally and informally, but it appears no action has been taken, and you agree with me, they are on their way out. So we need to come out and tell the whole world, and also to inform them that, look, an action has to be taken to address the issues that is bordering on the staff welfare.
Lending support because the Public Complaints Commission is actually under the National Assembly, so whatever is happening here affects us as a people. And it's the same thing we are all asking for: implement the CONLES, and most of us are facing the same problem, non-funding of the budget.
And as we promised, we are doing it peacefully to the best of our ability, and so far there's no any breach of laid down procedure of trade unionism as well as labor law.
There is a need for the staff of the legislature to be given a befitting salary structure that will commiserate the work they put into.
We are tired!
Some of the legislators said they were taken aback by the protest.
The management are the appropriate authority to be able to respond to it.
I don't know anything about it. I just came to the gate and they said that there will be no sitting today. The paramilitary staff of National Assembly have taken over the Senate and the House of Reps, or both, I don't really know, that we should go back home.
The National Assembly workers were joined by legislative aides, who also said they are being owed a backlog of allowances.
We have agreed that if you allow us, that the report on the condition of service should be considered immediately by the two chambers so that we can pass that immediately.
But in response to the workers' notice of picketing and strike, the clerk to the National Assembly picked holes in some of the agitations. Reacting to the calls for promotion, he said noticeable errors prevented letters from being issued, such as wrong effective dates of promotion and of conversion, suspicious career progression records, and questions concerning consultancy cadre.
National Assembly workers, this is happening in the National Assembly, as we have in the labor sector too. We have our academic staff, too, and everybody is trying to make this point before, we go. Is it this government before the next election? In short, so what do you make of this?
Yeah, I think they've also chosen the right time to go on strike. The warning had been there all along that these guys will go on strike, because we talk about National Assembly members being paid humongous salary, but there are issues, big issues about the welfare of the people who work for them.
Staff of National Assembly.
Yes, it's been there for so long. I don't see how it can be morally justified that senators will earn the kind of obscene wages that they earn, yet the workers do not get a fair deal. And if government approved a payment structure, a wage structure, as far back as 2012, there is no reason in the world to not have implemented it. So that is why I believe that these guys were right in taking the step that they've taken. So it's also a good sign that the strike has now been called off because of the assurances they got from Saraki. Because Saraki said something yesterday that, yes, we want you to be paid, but we need to be able to sit to solve the problem. Because if you don't allow us to sit, where are we going to deliberate and then pass a resolution that will solve this problem? Talking about the report that Saraki was talking about, he said, we will pass that report on the civil service. We will pass that report, but we need to be allowed to sit before that can happen. And I believe that the assurances were such that the union leaders felt that they had to let it go.
Tony, when you look at what Jide just said, the irony of it, if, according to Shehu Sani then, that if a lawmaker can be going on with 13-point-something million just without those other big allowances and everything, and when you look at what these people are fighting for, if you look at, you discover that even what they are paying them is, far cry, So if we have 109 senators and 390 House of Rep members, and we have staff of the National Assembly Commission, and you can see the number and the people that work behind the scene. So what do you make of it?
It's part of what we talk about every day in Nigeria. And before now, we've heard issues where legislative aides are not being paid properly. Most times they pay through their principal before it gets to their point. And people say, yes, we've heard it many times, and nothing has been done. Nothing has been done. I'm not surprised seeing them yesterday, and I think, but I know there's a force behind it because they couldn't have pulled that off successfully like this. And I'm happy that they have the courage. They should be able to speak up because they are earning so much. I mean, what we're talking about here is nothing. It's an allowance accruing, I think, over 6 months. I mean, and these are senators, House of Reps members who their salaries are not being owed, and I'm sure their allowances are not owed too. So why is it that people who are under you, people who should be taken care of, are being owed and you're not bothered? Assuming they didn't even carry out this protest yesterday. They will just, I can assure you that this legislative Fourth Assembly will come and go, and nothing will be done. So I like when people are bold like this. That is what Nigerians need. When things are not going right, come out, protest. People, the world will hear you. And I can assure you, it's just a matter of weeks. These issues will be resolved. You saw the way they were turning them off yesterday. Because you can't. This is a mass movement. People must stand when things are not going on the way it should be. You can't hold people and expect them to go home and come to work the next day, happy to serve you, and they are not properly paid. I mean, things should be done the right way in Nigeria. And with this, I think we'll get it right someday.
Jide, look at the, because one thing they said it was budgeted for in 2018 budgets, but I know because the federal government, they've been having problem in financing that particular budget. They might not, it's not what is budgeted for that you can actually get in real time.
Yeah, we all know that implementation is the bane of our budgeting. We can budget hefty sums, but within that budget cycle, within the 1 year budget cycle, funds may not be released for the project. Yeah. That's why we have abandoned projects all over the place. Many times, those funds don't get released. Like we were talking about the army the other day, and people were abusing them, abusing the government on Facebook, about the $1 billion. And something that was talked about months ago, and we are talking about a war that Nigeria must win, a war that is costing us the lives of our soldiers and innocent farmers and other people living in the Northeast. And the money still hasn't been released. But the people out there peddling the rumor that the money had been wasted or spent on elections didn't even know that this money had not been released. So it has taken the army to come out to say, look, the money that people are shouting over, honestly, we have not even been paid. It's a problem.
And everybody kept quiet.
It's a problem. When money is appropriated for projects, for laudable things, and then we wait and wait and wait. Sometimes it is in the last quarter of the year that it gets released. So if it's released in the last quarter of the year, if it's for a project, you can be sure that that budget, that budget has failed. If the bulk of the capital component of the budget, what was it called? The financial backing for the capital component of the budget comes in the last quarter of the year, that budget has failed. Because a lot of the laudable things in it will not be accomplished that year. What do you want to do within 3 or 4 months? What do you want to do? It's just not, it's just not right. These guys did well. They protested for 5 hours. They chanted songs. They booed the lawmakers. And the lawmakers were sufficiently rattled and humiliated. Now they've decided, look, we'll solve this problem, but let us have an opportunity to sit down. We want to meet with you. So this is the language that Nigerian leaders understand, the language of strike. It's becoming more and more evident that this is the language. In some cases, they just even ignore you. Look at College of Education workers. They've been on strike since God knows when. And nobody is even talking to them. They've been on strike for so long. Labor now, Labor is still talking about the minimum wage. We are here to resolve it. One day, they are going to call workers out for a strike because the last one was truncated because some assurances were made. Okay, they head back.
They might not be lucky.
We've not had a full-blown strike. But if things continue like this, because there is no sign, there is no sign that this matter is about to be resolved.
At all.
So they may eventually be forced.
The 30,000 naira or no 30,000 naira.
They may eventually be forced to go on strike again.
All right. Moving on now. The capacity of Nigerians to overcome shock and move on with life is becoming something of a legend. The furor over the abduction of Chibok girls by Boko Haram insurgents in Borno State in 2014 is melting into memory, with some of them still in captivity, but they're conscious of the burden on him to ensure of their release. President Muhammadu Buhari has reiterated the commitment of his administration to freeing them. Speaking during an audience with Swiss President Alain Berset on the sidelines of the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Poland, President Muhammadu Buhari reaffirmed that his government will not rest until the remaining Chibok girls are safely reunited with their families. Meanwhile, the wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, is urging Nigerian women to vote for her husband in 2019. Speaking in Abuja, she appealed to women to ensure victory for the All Progressive Congress for continuity of the administration's social intervention programs targeted at them and their children. Gentlemen, Tony, since 2014, somebody told me that they are not girls again, that these are Chibok women.
We women. They should be mothers now.
So from 2014 to this time.
15, 16,
and we're still talking about these girls. And Leah and Sharibu still there. We are counting days. And Nigerians, there's a way things will fade out and after a while. But the bottom line there is that it's a low point, the history of this country. That's it says a lot about our security system and the war against insurgents.
It's painful that really, we're still talking about Chibok girls 4 years after. It's painful. Painful to Nigerians, and most especially the parents of these girls.
Yeah.
4 years down the line, and the most painful part is that we don't get to hear about it anymore, except maybe because the president talked about it in Poland yesterday. And I can assure you that if not being followed, if the process of getting these girls back is not being followed the moment it returns, if there's no follow-up, it's going to die down again. Since the Bring Back Our Girls movement stopped this regular sit-out at the...
Obi is contesting now.
Yeah, so she's a bit distracted.
Candidate.
So the matter, just as you said, is going to...
the other woman is still...
the other one, Aisha Yusuf, occasionally. They don't even have the time, and then they keep having clashes with the police. So it's dying down. It's dying, and we're approaching election. And as we approach election, things are changing. It's all about election. As I said, if not for the fact that Mr. President talked about it yesterday, we won't talk about it anymore. We have Liv Sharibu, we have these other Dachi girls still hanging there. So that is my fear. I don't think there is this effort, sustained effort at getting these girls back. No sustained effort. We only talk about it when, and I'm sure a question was posed in that direction for that answer to come from the president. No sustained, but I know government will come and say, we've been doing it. No, I cannot. With the way things are going, I don't see these girls being rescued before election. All I can tell government is that they should not relent, because 4 years is not. And at times I wonder, where are these? Are they within this continent at all? Why is it so difficult? Yeah, are they within reach? I don't want to go too much into this Chibok girls issue. It's still very, very contentious for me.
Babajide, the process of getting the 119, is it 119, the first batch, if it's negotiating with the, I think the Red Cross and the Swiss government, they actually helped out. Can't we exploit that avenue again to make sure that we'll get everybody home?
You see, the Swiss government can only try. The Red Cross can only try. If the insurgents are not prepared to release the girls, there's nothing anyone can do. And the insurgents know, the Boko Haram men know that they are in a position of strength. So they are the ones who dictate the terms. You are not the one dictating the terms. It's not the Swiss government dictating the terms. It is they, because they know that they are the ones who hold the prize possession. Because you are holding on to the prize possession, they know that we need it. They know that if the government successfully does it, it will boost the popularity of the government significantly, especially as we approach the election, because the president made that promise that he would not consider that Boko Haram has been defeated until he's been able to reunite the Chibok girls with their parents. That's what he said. So the president still feels a sense of inadequacy on account of not being able, up till now, to secure the release of all the guests. But at the same time, this president is conscious of the fact that Boko Haram could use this opportunity to become a lot stronger, because you are not just going to hand the guests over to them without giving something in return. The first time they asked us to release some of their bomb makers who were in the hands of Nigerian security forces. Of course, we had exchange, what looked like exchange of prisoners, but the Chibok girls are not prisoners. You know, it's just like Israel exchanging prisoner with Hamas. So we had that, and they let go a few of their people. They know where the prison, where those guys are, and they will dictate to government that we have one of our guys, one of our fighters is in so-so prison. We need him as part of this deal. And then, of course, the sweetener, which is money, will also come in dollars.
Sweetener.
Of course, it is no government directly negotiates with terrorists, but governments will negotiate through third parties. So you are not going to be able to hold any government that, oh, you paid so-so amount of money, you paid so-so millions of dollars to these guys just for them to release some people to you. So government now has to be careful. I remember President Buhari saying this next set of release of Chibok girls, that government will be very careful. And as somebody who spends his time studying him, who has studied him for years, I knew that the negotiation for the release of the next set will be much more tortuous. Because what is the point in making these guys stronger on account of trying to secure the release of the Chibok girls? Because if you pay money to them, then they will inevitably go and buy weapons from the black market. You know, maybe from Libya. Chad is there, coming through Chad. From Libya coming through Chad, the weapons will be delivered at their doorsteps. And then they will be able to pay for mercenaries. The mercenaries are available. Chadian rebels are available to fight for a fee. Inside Niger Republic, they can find contract killers who will also join the Boko Haram team. Once they have sufficient funds, they can do a lot and endanger the Nigerian army in the process. It shouldn't surprise anyone that suddenly they become strong again. How did they become strong? They must have acquired new weapons. They must have recruited new fighters and all that. All of this you can't do without having money. So as much as it is desirable to secure the release of these girls, we also have to be careful not to by our action or by the concessions that we make this enemy stronger. Because when this enemy becomes stronger, we are in trouble.
It's a catch-22 situation.
Yes. You know, and another thing, it probably would have been easier to even secure their release, all of them. But because those girls were shared between the two factions. The first time that we wanted to secure the release of these girls was sometime in October 2015, in a place between Dikwa and Mafa in Borno State. But the rival faction stormed the scene and said, if you release any of these girls, then all of the ones in our camp will go and slaughter them. And the Nigerian officials had to back out. They had to back out. So it's not as if they are not making efforts. They've made tremendous efforts, but there have been problems. The fact that, when you secure maybe 100, those 100 are most likely from one side. then you go do another deal with another.
Which the terms and conditions might.
Yes. And then they'll keep making all kinds of demands and all that. So it's been tough. I know that the president wanted to fulfill his promise. He still wishes in his heart to fulfill his promise, but he has to find a way to juggle things. He has to find a way in overall national interest, find a way to juggle things so that the enemy doesn't become too strong.
This is like a catch-22 situation, choosing between the devil and the deep blue sea. And what are our options?
Our option still remains that they should be rescued, no matter what it costs the Nigerian government. We are talking about 4 years here. There's no other option than to strategize on if the old method of getting them is not working. How do we get them? I've asked again, where on earth are these girls? We're not talking about 20 girls, we're not talking about 50 and all that. And for 4 good years, government, for me, is a mere excuse. 4 good years, and we're talking about not being able to rescue. 4 good years, and then I think 2 other a year plus from the previous government. I mean, this is absurd. It's unthinkable that we are still talking about this now. Let me say, because we're not part of that family, because we have the resources to get this thing done. If there is the will, with the resources is there, and there is the will, it's doable.
What Jide is saying is that the first one, it was easier.
Yeah, and
but the backlash, if we have to raise,
But I've heard the state government. I mean, there are things we don't have to say here. I said it, and that's why I want to remain. That it is doable. It is doable. Okay, because of those little excuses, I call them little excuses.
Are we leaving out the fact that some of those girls, they can be suffering from Stockholm syndrome?
Yeah, some of them may not want to come. Yeah, but definitely.
Not even going
definitely,
to
some of them they are married already. They are converted and all that. And they have kids. For most of these,
so they are not even ready. Boko Haram shot a movie. Shot a video where some of those girls were saying, "Look, we are going nowhere.
Yeah,
this is where we want to be."
Those are the effects.
To the commanders, Boko Haram commanders, and they are taken good care of. If you've spoken with some of the girls who are released, they will tell you that wives of commanders tend to be better taken care of amongst the Chibok girls. Wives of Boko Haram commanders, they get preferential treatment, So for some of those people, there's no reason to go back.
Some won't come back.
There's no reason to go back. There are those that even have gone back to the bush. Not Chibok girls. Apart from Chibok girls, the army has rescued
some that were abducted.
Yes, some of them have gone back to reunite with their husbands. So that is the thing. It's a terrible situation. But I don't think all governments negotiate. But every government wants to negotiate in a position of strength. That is the thing. You don't negotiate in a manner that you see clearly that you've been hamstrung. You have to negotiate in a position of strength. You can't negotiate away your security, the security of your country, just because you want to solve a problem. We've seen even in the West, they will tell you, no, if you like, use them as human shield. Remember during the Gulf War, Thatcher said, we don't negotiate with terrorists. When they were going to use those Westerners, Iraq was going to use them as human shields, taking them from one building being targeted to another. And Thatcher said, we will not negotiate. That if you like, keep them, we will not negotiate. And that's what happened. He said, we don't negotiate with terrorists. So in the thick of the war, Saddam thought he could actually blackmail the West. But they refused to back down. Where the security and national interest is concerned, you have to hold back. It's still possible. If Boko Haram wants to negotiate, if the terms are acceptable to Nigerian authorities, these guys will be released. But you don't tell me, for example, that I should go and bring $10 billion and then expect that I will quickly now call Emefiele, go and bring $10 billion so that we can give Boko Haram. Nobody does that. You have to negotiate in a manner that still ensures that your interest is protected.
Let's move on a little bit. Moving on a little bit, Mrs. Buhari asking women to vote for APC for her husband, and Madam is a table shaker anytime.
She shakes the table.
She shakes the table a lot, and when you want to look at it, I don't know. She is going to campaign for her husband from what we've seen and everything. She doesn't have a choice. She doesn't have a choice.
She did it in 2015 and 14 and all that.
That changed the narrative because that was the first time we'll see a Mrs. Buhari.
Yes.
We didn't see Mrs. Buhari in 2007. Yes. We didn't see her in 2003. We didn't see her in 2011. But the first time the family was unveiled, and that actually made the difference and actually impacted greatly that, oh, this is the wife of President Buhari, and we saw the children, and that's actually caught some families. That this is the human side.
Yeah, she has to campaign for she just has to campaign for the husband. She has to campaign based on the achievement of the husband. Then she just came back she just came into the political space in 2015-14, and it's different today because she has to sell the husband's achievement to electorate. This is what what's been able to achieve between so and so. Campaigning for the husband is not it's expected, just like Dame did for Jonathan then, but on a different just as
you started.
Dame ended up the marketing.
She was there. She was and so it's expected that she campaign for the husband. She has to campaign on the achievement of the present administration, which her husband spearheads or supervises and all that. So we expect more. And I expect her to tell Nigerians what they want to hear, how they can key into the next level of the present administration. Of course, the women folk and all that. She has a lot. She really has a lot.
And the women?
Yes. I think she has to, these days, maybe she needs to follow the vice president more now because, going to the market for the trader money. She needs to key into that, definitely, because I think it's she can appeal to the women more than the VP. So maybe as the election thickens, I expect her to step into the fray big time.
Babajide, this is a first lady with a difference because I am yet to see a first lady that in terms of speaking her mind, that's, not necessarily rolling with the flow, not a conformist.
The way she says
what she said yesterday now, was like there are two people in this administration that are slowing things down for my husband. And she looked up and she saw your boss, the senator, Judu, and said, I know they don't like what I'm saying. But she's someone that is very blunt.
You have to speak
Sajo works with her.
Okay.
The woman.
Okay.
The dark-skinned woman, Sajo. And they say, I know that Sajo and Judu will not want me to say this. But you see, what she said is what every Nigerian already knows. What every Nigerian already knows. There are two individuals. One of them used to be my boss. The first job I did in my life.
Okay.
So it's not. She has not said anything new. She has not said anything new, and the first time
the ability to say that in public.
You see, that was not even the first time. Remember the first time she talked about a cabal. This is a woman. She's educated. She sees things that she does not like. And it's difficult to keep her down so that she will not talk. No, she's not that kind of person. And she's had a privileged background. She's not someone that Buhari brought from maybe the ghetto. No. The family, privileged family, rich family, that's where she came from. Proud family from Adamawa State. So She knows what is good for the husband. And I believe that for the husband, Aisha remains a strength. Because she sees problems and she talks about those problems. Maybe she's forced to come out when she says a few things and she gets snubbed. We feel bad sometimes when we talk about something repeatedly, something that we know that if the government changes, will help the government. And you see that there's no sign that they want to change. She knows who the problems are, who constitute the problem in the presidency. When we talk about a cabal exists. Nobody can deny that a cabal exists. If you deny, we know that inwardly you are deceiving yourself.
All administration, there's always an element of
There's
having
always a
some
cabal.
people that are very close
Yes.
and very powerful within the presidency.
There's no presidency that you don't have that. Yaradua had it. And Ture, the wife, was also powerful. And you have people like Tamino. You know Tamino Yakubu, who was married to Bala Usman's daughter, who is at MPA now. And you had other people, Tilde, the rest of them. So there's no government that doesn't have it. But this person genuinely loves the husband, and the things that are not good, she occasionally talks about them. But she is also a fantastic mobilizer for the man. Because when it comes to election, she campaigned for the husband in Kaduna and in other places. And that face, Nigerian women love her because they know that she's also, she cares about their plight. It takes a woman whose office is not funded. You know, the constitution does not recognize that office, and Buhari has consistently refused to fund that office. But from the support of partners, you see Aisha Buhari go to Adamawa and build an hospital where the government of the day has not built a single hospital. She has gone there to give them an hospital. I mean, all these things are verifiable. Why wouldn't women gravitate towards such a person? So this is the thing. And if there are problems, I think it's right to talk about those problems.
The last time she complained about the Asura clinic.
You and I know that it makes no sense. To have a clinic, money is appropriated to the clinic, and the clinic remains comatose. People, I mean, she does have to talk. And then what happened in the APC, the one that they complained about, that you have a situation in which you knew that you were going to give people automatic tickets, yet you collected money, money for nominations from other individuals. You made them to pay, you made them to campaign, you made them to spend money. And at the end of the day, you knew you were going to give someone. On the day of the election, they didn't see their name on the ballot. She said that was wrong. But when she spoke, they said, oh, it's because our brother lost the election in Adama. How about other people that the matter affected? Why do we think like this? Those people who were cheated, don't they have a reason to be angry? Do we not have a situation in which now that some people are defecting from the party because of things like this?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is the thing. If you know that you want to make something unopposed, don't get people to go and pay for form. And even if they pay for form, you can refund it.
Exactly.
That is the message.
It should be refundable.
Today they're counting close to 12 billion in terms of turnover they made.
They need to think about that. They need to do something
from that venture. Anyway, we have to move on. Now, the menace of illicit drug trafficking and abuse in Nigeria continues to stare us in the face despite measures to curb them. Now, this brings to mind a statement by musician Eric Reed Boucher of the famed Dead Kennedys band that every prohibition you create, you also create an underground. The band Tramadol is daily smuggled into the country despite efforts by the law enforcement agencies to keep it at bay. But the Nigerian Customs Service on Tuesday secured an order of the Federal High Court in Lagos to destroy 14 containers loaded with tramadol, which were seized from smugglers between February and September this year at Apapa Wharf. The order followed an ex parte application taken before Justice Saliu Saidu at the Customs by the customs. At least the order will prevent the banned drug consignment from getting into hands of addicts. Addiction is becoming a big problem. Okay, I think my producer is telling me to take this break. So let me take this breather. When we come back, we'll discuss more. It's still Journalist Hangout. Welcome back. Still Journalist Hangout, and we are looking at the menace of addiction. Tramadol. You know, it used to be something that was so rampant up north. But right now, everywhere.
Like wildfire.
You go to clubs, you go to any social gathering and everything. Young men between the ages of 16 to 30, you see codeines, you see tramadol, and Tony.
You see,
there's fire on the mountain.
Yeah.
Not limited to the guys alone.
Yes. You see, this tramadol, initially, we were talking about codeine, the ban on codeine, following that documentary, done on that. And then today, it's about tramadol. Tramadol, before, wasn't an illicit drug. People were using it for other things, just like codeine. But it's only, Now, but Nigeria now, we are beginning to use it for other things. Abuse.
Get high on it.
Get high, intoxicate, and start, that pleasure. And it's scary because of the effect. You just take a drive on Lagos. Go to under those bridges. Go to some streets, you see them. What is sustaining them? Drugs these days. Tramadol. You see a young guy with a bottle of Coke is holding it for 5 hours, not letting it go. Yeah. Not letting it go. Mix. If you take it, you're finished.
Man.
If you take it as an ordinary person, your brain knocks. So they take it on a regular basis, and it keeps them at that level that they can do anything. Anything. And we're approaching election. And you know the kind of election we do here, Togri and all that. These are things that sustain them. I commend the Nigerian custom for this seizure. But I'm scared because I know for them to have this, some are already in the system. How long? How did it get to this point? Now, it has gotten to that alarming stage that I expect enlightenment on the TV, on radio. Where is the national orientation? I've said it before. People need to know. People need to. It's only on programs like this. People hear these things. And after that, it's over again. They buy this thing as we speak. Go to those bus stops. Go to bus stops. You have shit. People, they sell drugs, all manner of, nobody challenges them. They know where they buy these things on a regular basis. Cheap and very cheap. They mix it. And, you know traffic robbery in Lagos. At times it takes a bold person to get to that level, to challenge. You don't even care who these people are.
Jide, Tony is talking about maybe the
effect.
No, the ones down the ladder, the so-called area boys, and but unfortunately, even
I know it gets to that level. Yeah.
The children of the high and mighty,
destroying homes.
So what is this tramadol? What's the big deal?
Oh yeah, it's a big deal about tramadol. A bottle of beer costs on the average maybe 250. So 250. A tablet of tramadol is about 30 naira. Now, if they take a bottle of beer and then buy 30 naira tramadol, it gives them the euphoric feeling that drinking 5 bottles can give them.
So, how do you know this?
So this, I move around. I move around. I'm a knowledge hunter.
He reads.
Now that's what it gives them.
Oh my God.
It's a cheap way of getting high. You know, when you go to northern Nigeria, drinking beer in the open for Muslims is not common, especially for the natives. But drug use is high. Kano has remained number 1, NDLA rating for drug abuse. Kano, high up there. And with this kind of drugs, the psychotropic drugs and all that, narcotic drugs that they abuse. Because they can't drink beer in the open, but they can drink, what's it called? They can drink codeine. People won't frown at codeine.
People will put
the
codeine
way they will frown
they
at
could pour it in a bottle of Coke.
if they see you drinking beer.
They mix it most times.
You understand?
Okay.
It's not, the religion frowns at alcohol consumption.
It doesn't frown at...
No, not this one. So they consume it with relish. And it's the same thing in Nigeria. But what they do not realize is that consistent consumption of tramadol will shut down their liver and their kidneys in the fullness of time.
Overuse.
I'm excited that the customs is doing such a fantastic job. I think 14 containers.
Containers?
I'm excited about the job that the customs are doing because these guys were offered bribe and they didn't take bribe. The Nigerian customs, yes, people will say, oh, they are corrupt, they make so much money. But for they do not get paid the sort of salary that other uniform agencies get paid. And we will go and give the assistant comptroller, we'll give him a huge target to meet without telling ourselves that his salary is nothing compared to the money that he sees passing through his desk every day. So you can imagine, I know that Ahmed Ali asked for better wages for customs.
I remember that time, the argument is Kemi
Adeosun. I'm not sure that Ahmed Ali has sustained that agitation for long. Maybe he's already consumed by adulation and all that. Everybody is praising him. But it is the ordinary customs man who does this job. It is not Ahmed Ali who will go and do 100% inspection and seize tramadol. So they have to, for the kind of feat that these guys have done, they need to be rewarded. The set of people that smashed this attempt to smuggle this deadly product into our country, they must promote them, and they must do something about the welfare of customs staff. Even their training center, they must do something because we need them to do more of this. Young men and women are destroying themselves. Look, in no time, if you make a habit, and what the Indians are doing to us, the average milligram for this drug, which gives one the kind of morphine-like effect, is 50 milligram. And that is damaging enough. But Indians are now doing 250 milligram, bringing it into Nigeria. Why? Because the people who ordered for it were the ones who told them, look, we need something that will really make this guy. Yeah. So they are increasing the strength of the drug, moving it to 250 mg. So that is the thing. Some of them put it in water that they drink. Some, they do not realize, if you try to inject it into your vein, it leads to sudden death. This is something that can kill. So even in America, it's a controlled substance. No individual in America is allowed to use till after 6 months. If they administer it on you now, it's 6 months later that they can administer it on you.
Not to talk of taking it daily. Right?
No, you can't use it as a around-the-clock painkiller. No,
Right, okay.
it makes no sense. Because you are destroying yourself.
Tony,
In Nigeria, buy them off
there's
the
fire
shelf.
on the mountain.
In Nigeria, buy them
Because
off the shelf.
You now see it. You now find it even
Everywhere.
Aboki.
Yes, now
Kiosk
everywhere.
sellers,
Everywhere,
and,
down the streets, you can get it. See, for us to nail this,
Some use it like an aphrodisiac.
yes, no, you know,
But in the end, it will kill them sexually.
they use it, of course.
To damage
overdo-
them
yeah.
sexually,
Even take
yeah.
almost like a sachet. The issue, my fear is this: there is a cartel running this show. If you look at the humongous amount they make, and the one they wanted to give the customs, it tells you it's not a single man's business.
It's a big business.
It's a big business.
And they need to arrest them.
And the thing is moving.
Yeah, and if you don't get to the bottom, who are those people responsible? Are we telling them? Are we making any effort at getting them? Because we have this seizure today. As you're seizing these particular containers, they are strategizing on how to bring it in again. We have means of getting these things into this country. But first and foremost, is to nail the people who are responsible. Because as I'm very sure, they are not sitting aloof. They are equally thinking how to. And we are
They will be planning to bring in
this is
another one.
December.
Because they know
This
they
is
will
the
make
first thing-
money.
They are going to make millions.
If they succeed with it, they will make money.
So if you don't get them, we're going to talk about this again. For me, getting them first, and then see how we can round them up. That is the root
jail
of this. And jail them accordingly. Prosecute them. If we don't do that, definitely. They have the resources. They have the
How
resources
can
to
we
go
stop
back.
our young men and women
You can't stop
from
them.
being initiated into drug abuse, all this?
You can't stop them.
That's why we talked about. I think NAFDAC should even do the sort of thing that EFCC is doing now. EFCC is going to schools and setting up anti-corruption clubs in secondary schools. So NAFDAC,
Yeah, I think
although the new NAFDAC
DG is not...
is complaining about lack of funds
Funding.
and all that. Though they don't even have enough functional laboratories and all that. You need to fund NAFDAC effectively for NAFDAC to win this war.
And reach
So
out.
NAFDAC has to catch them young. Maybe I can use that. Go to schools, set up those clubs, and begin to fight drug addiction from the cradle.
It is
So
true.
at the young age, let them know the dangers. If you take Rofinol, this is what will happen to you. If you take Tramadol and you become addicted to it because it's a drug that you are likely to be addicted to, you know, they call it an habit-forming drug. You are likely to be addicted to. So at young age, people will be schooled on the dangers inherent in taking these drugs. Then when they grow up, hopefully the dangers will not be something new to them, and they will tell themselves that, no, I don't want to die young. I don't want my liver to fail. I don't want my kidney to fail. Therefore, I must not make a habit of consuming this. Because the way drug addiction is becoming rampant in our country, I really fear for our young people. A friend of mine was telling me that he visited someone. He didn't know that that guy had poured many bottles of codeine into his water dispenser. So when he moved in, I wanted to take water. I said, no, don't take that. Don't take that one. I will give you water. Don't take this one. He said, but why now? He said, no, I put codeine. It's for my friends. It's not for people like you. You are an old man. Don't take it. So,
Dispenser water.
Yes, he poured it into it. I already mixed it.
bottle.
So when you take a glass of water, then you see that it's foamy. It's actually because it's laced with codeine. You see these young girls at parties holding these little bottles as if they're drinking water. What you see in that bottle, they've already, even if it's Coke that they are drinking, and they are not drinking that Coke, they are not drinking it quickly. You know that they've already put codeine.
Yeah.
I went to repair my phone somewhere and I saw that boy clutching a bottle of Coke.
Take it from him.
A bottle of Coke. And I'm like, for 1 hour, you can't finish a bottle of Coke.
It's
he
not
has
ordinary.
already put codeine in
It's not
it.
ordinary bottle.
Yeah, it's not ordinary. Already, and you see them, they're walking like someone
ready to die,
already, almost dead.
Unconscious.
Almost dead, just
And they
walking.
enjoy
sleepwalking.
the highness.
Yeah, that's a
Because
catch.
they want to postpone they are not happy.
They really want to
the
postpone it.
conditions of the country traumatize them,
exactly.
and they think that, look, if I make myself high, at least
for
I
the
will
moment,
banish this memory, this agony for some time. No, you come back to it.
From your turning habits.
You come back. It's unfortunate.
So discouraging.
And the musicians who are singing rubbish, those
Most of them.
encouraging these guys,
Like
something
who?
must be done about them.
No, do you want him
All
to
those
call
songs.
names?
No, we don't have time. On the
Ayo.
day that we have time, I will sing those songs. We don't have time today. We don't have time.
Don't shake any table.
Tony Waji.
I will sing their songs. Those their
We know
songs.
them.
I know them.
We know this.
Tony Waji, I want to thank you.
Thank you so much.
For being part of today's episode of the Journalist Hangout. And the maestro himself. I wanted you to sing one of them because you've actually sung one of those songs. And that's it on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on our platform showing on the screen. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozubakum. Bye for now. See you next time.
Thank you.